this week?
Sure.
Would be important. Okay. I'll just do it later on.
Okay.
Can we get it on here, or is this like a packet?
We've got interviews coming up on Friday. There's some issues with King County and Pierce County on flood management. Here's what the other two items are, because I had them written on my agenda, I left that on my desk.
Okay. So we'll just, if we just add this, in
Public Works.
Public Works cleanup. Okay.
Random public work stuff.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So, looks like it's a public works kind of night. Oh, no, Kelly gets to go first. Come on down.
The judge's appointment is at the end of the year, and
Can you hear that? Okay, you're gonna have to put that up on the, thank you, Kelly. We're gonna resolve this, really.
the judge's appointment is up at the end of the year, and it's up to the mayor and the council if he's going to be reappointed or not, and all the documents are prepared if your
Desire to do so.
exactly.
So I think this is a mayoral appointment, council confirmed, is that right?
Correct.
So you have, is this your candidate for?
Yes, it is,
Okay.
appointment with the city.
What questions does council have? Gary?
Council approves all contracts, as a four-year contract, and that's the council approves.
Yes, and council has to approve anyway, so. Does council have any questions about the contract? Looks like stays the same through the end of the year, through the end of the new term, right, as a new.
Correct.
They're at the same rate. That's not me. Okay, move forward?
Move forward.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you.
Thanks, Kelly. Great job. And now it appears to be the Jim show.
So the Stewart Road project is the first thing. It's supplement number 11 to the existing contract that started back in 2010. This is the last section of the contract to get the plans all final, to go out to bid. We've had conversations with TIB. They've been concerned that this project has been in a state of stagnation for the last 18, 20 months. We've said that we've got the last supplement to get the road designed, and the designer has said that they will have it done in 2 months after they have a signed contract, which would, if it's approved at the next meeting, will get us done by the end of the year. We can put it out to bid in early 2014, with construction starting shortly thereafter and completion probably mid-2015, and then that job is done. Gary Richardson from Skilling County is here to address comments. Staff has gone through it. We had a few questions. Those questions have been resolved. So we do recommend approving this supplement.
What question? Gary, do you want to kind of walk us through the? I don't
see a copy of the supplement.
Oh, no.
So you just have the resolution?
Yes.
Do we have copies?
I could get some.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Do you want to just move this down? Do you want to, we're grabbing it? Okay. We'll take a short break.
You want to go on to the next item, or do we have to wait until clerk gets back? Okay.
Yeah, let's give her.
I'll go to the other issues. Oh, I mean, the other issues aren't.
Pretty basic scenario.
Yeah. One is the flood district is going to be here next week on the 29th King County Flood District, they want to have a media event.
That wasn't today, that was first today?
No, that was a separate media event today. This one will have some King County Council people. They just want to show that, they've been out preparing for the potential floods for the future, and they just thought that Pacific was a good place to come to because of, we have the most imminent probability on the White River for the sedimentation. In addition to that, I don't know who all's heard, but the King County is proposing to raise the HESCOs at the park. They're going to put a second row and then another HESCO on top of that double row of HESCOs. They've modeled what they expect the flooding to be, and they're looking in some areas where it's 1 foot to 2 feet short, and so that's why they want to add that extra layer of HESCOs on there. They will be working on that starting this weekend. They want to get it done as quickly as possible. The HESCOs are coming from the Corps of Engineers. King County is putting the labor, and I said we would commit to, if they needed a backhoe operator to help, we could provide that much assistance. I mean, down to 4 people, so we've got limited staff that we could put to it. Pierce County will also be in this weekend. They will be raising the sandbag berm on the south end of White River Estates. So that's in the works. They will be starting also this weekend. King County and Pierce County sort of working together on this project to help us out with those issues. The county would also like to meet, we're trying to schedule meetings with the property owners on Third Place Southeast. That's the little homes right on the river levee. When that plat was done for that development, there was a 20-foot wide flood district easement for flood control, and unfortunately some of the property owners have encroached upon that easement. So we're trying to work out those issues with those property owners so that we can protect their properties as well as the rest of the city, because if it were over top up there, then now it's coming behind the HESCOs, and that's the last thing we want to have happen. So we're working on, King County is working on that as well. And we're still waiting.
On that, she brought your copy, but while we're on that subject, we mentioned the meeting that is slated for next Wednesday.
We have an open house next week on Wednesday the 30th when we are inviting in all of the property owners, primarily in on the easterly side of the meeting is at 6:30.
And where?
It will be in the gym. It will be to talk about some of these issues. It's primarily for those people between 3rd Avenue Southwest, Stewart Road, and east of the railroad tracks, with a few exceptions, including Oakhurst and that little bit of area up there. What we're using as the basis for that is the 2009 flood impact area, and we've gone an additional 200 feet beyond that to make sure. And the police department with their Explorer Scouts was going out door to door and getting information to people on that issue.
When you say their new model shows the current HESCO wall is a couple of feet short in places, how much higher flood elevation is that than we had in 2009? Do they have a comparison to where that?
Well, they ran the model based on about 10,000 CFS, and 10,000 CFS it's right up to the low point of the HESCOs, and if there's a wind blowing, it will go over the HESCOs. 12,000 CFS cubic feet per second. 12,000, it goes over the top in multiple places. The Corps is permitted to discharge 17.6. And their position, they try to watch and monitor, but the position is, if they don't control it up there and it overtops, then they have no control at all. And then it not only causes devastation here in Pacific, but right on down the river all the way to the Port of Tacoma. And their mandate is to protect from the Port of Tacoma up, as opposed to the areas out here.
Okay, so my question is, where they're at now at the park, that's where they begin the HESCO, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so all the way down along the back side of the White River, we have HESCO bags that are about, what, 4 feet tall?
Yes.
So now they're going to be double wide with another one stacked
Not
on
all
top?
of them. Not all of them. The ones in the park will be double stacked.
Okay.
Because that's the area that's low. Across the front of the park and down a portion of the side of the park.
Okay.
It's based upon where the water will go, not necessarily the ground level, because as you know, the ground level goes up and down, and the HESCOs more or less follow that ground level. So what they did was, they surveyed the top of the HESCOs, then they did their modeling based upon where the sediment level from 2011. That's another key too, because there have been some more sediment since then.
Right.
However, we have not had the water flows as high as we've had in the past, which is what moves most of the sediment.
So are they hoping to no longer use the park as a retaining pond?
Oh, no, they need the park as a retaining
Okay.
pond. That's why they want to build the HESCOs up higher. So yeah, the park will continue to be a retaining source for water.
So then longer term, with this new modeling, are we looking at further revisions to the flood map for insurance purposes?
That has not been discussed. I mean, the other piece of the puzzle that comes into play is the fact that Sumner's in the process of redesigning the bridge, which is a choke point, which pushes water back up this way. A lot of the problems that we've had in the past is because of that choke point of the bridge. It pushes, only so much can go underneath the bridge, and then it starts pushing up what they call backwater, and it goes up Government Canal, and it creates problems as well.
So the HESCOs will be, what, 8 feet
Correct.
across the whole front of the park?
Yes.
And do we have concerns that now we have an 8-foot fence in front of the park that we won't be able to see what's going on back there?
That is a concern.
Might be something to consider.
Would be my question on a vandalism point of view, going to eliminate it really, because actually, you're saying another SQN and then a stack on top of it is better than an additional 8 feet. They're about 30 inches, 3 feet, I think now.
No, they're 4 feet tall, the HESCO barriers themselves.
Okay, so you're telling me.
So it will be a total of 8 feet high.
Total of 8 feet high, okay. Yeah, you would.
Because you have to have them double wide so you can put another row on top. And that'll be until the springtime, March 31st, April 15th, somewhere around then. And then we would open the back up, probably leave the second row stacked. From a policing standpoint, we look at both the pros and the cons. There may actually be a pro in that, they can see them coming from a distance away with those HESCOs. They would not see them coming. They would have the element of surprise.
I think it's more concerning that we will not do it during the springtime, because right now we can say the park's closed and people shouldn't be back there. But if people are in there, they should have the expectation of safety.
We may have to look at whether or not we can remove that upper barrier, the upper level, just leaving double wide at the bottom,
Yeah.
and just take the top layer off. Our guys are getting pretty good about assembling and disassembling those. So it's possible what we would do is work with King County and look at taking the upper layer off.
Wasn't there talk about doing a half?
They were going to be filled half full,
Oh, that's right.
because they're all manufactured to the same height. And they would fill them probably only half full, because that's really all the level we need is the 2 feet. Was the most we needed. We really only need about 1 in most areas.
So those are the marshmallow bags?
No. These are the green wire frames.
Wouldn't it be easier for the engineer's project to be done, if like 3 inches back, 2 feet of cement right on top?
sandbag is a lot of labor. 2 feet high is 6 feet wide at the base. And so it would barely fit on the top there. And then it's more susceptible to vandalism than the HESCOs would be. We discussed that. We discussed putting the big marshmallows on top. And the Corps said, well, you know, I'm not so certain about that. So we discussed all sorts of different options, and the Corps felt most comfortable with putting the double layer with another HESCO on top, because that is what they're used to using when they do these kinds of things.
Josh? 2 additional questions, and one, with them half filled and a double stack, do we have any additional policing concerns about keeping people off of them or out of them? And then second question, we're getting a fairly heavy pile of stuff across there when we get too wide and too tall. Are we crushing any of our utilities under there? Deforming any of our...
Yeah, we only have 1 drain pipe, I think, that goes under, maybe 2. And we plugged those off anyway at that time, because we don't want the conveyance of the storm water back and forth. So we're not too concerned about that. Yes.
Who takes legal responsibility if someone was to get injured or who have you what?
That's county's property.
So if someone were to get injured climbing over, or something happened, God forbid, while they were in there, it's county's liability?
We can ask the insurance person, but I'm pretty certain.
I just want to make sure.
County's got deeper pockets, number 1. They're also the owner of the property, and they're aware that that structure was built on their property.
They're the owner of the HESCO bags and not the city.
Actually, I think the Corps of Engineers is still the owner of the HESCOs.
But the
Because
city's not
they
liable.
just loan them.
The city's not liable.
I don't believe so. I mean, but in a lawsuit, they're gonna go after everybody.
HESCO belongs before the property belongs to King County, so
It's the very end.
we're pretty well.
King County will own
But
their
yet
end.
we're to police it.
Yeah. Well, because we're local. I mean, the wall will be signed in, numerous places, but that only does so much good.
Any action on council's part, Stevie?
I don't think so, because like I said, it's King County's property, they're doing what they want to do. I mean, we've discussed it with them, and we realized that that's the only way we can protect the stakeholders, is to do it that way.
Yeah. Off the topic a little bit, but under flood control, is King County doing anything on mitigating that, collection pond out there at the end of the park?
I mean, the one right there close to the corner of Pacific and 3rd?
No, the one back in the woods on the south side of the park.
Oh, that's still under discussion. That's tied in with the overall plan for their eventual permanent burn, and whatever we need to do to get the stormwater out of White River Estates. Those things will all be integrated in some final agreement. And I don't know what transpired on that in the last 24 months.
That pond had failed.
It failed a long time ago. I think it failed after the 2006 flood, and it's just sort of been limping along ever since.
Okay, any other questions?
Shall we go back to the agreement?
Let's go back.
As I said, it's the 11th supplement for $93,000, not quite, $93,396. It includes finalization of all the plans and specifications to have bid-ready product. It also includes the final right-of-way plan and legal description for right-of-way that needs to be acquired in the corridor. And the City of Sumner will act as our right-of-way agent for that acquisition.
Let's get us 100% drawings.
100% plans and specifications. Bid-ready documents.
I thought we
suited?
For sure.
Can.
Yeah, you wanna do